Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. Something strange is happening behind the gates of Prince Andrew's royal lodge. People are whispering that his garage is hiding secrets that could connect him to one of the biggest scandals of our time. It was something much more shocking, something that connects to the darkest part of his life. Stay with us because what's hidden inside might change everything you thought you knew about the prince who fell from grace. Prince Andrew's story starts in the beautiful Windsor Great Park, inside the royal lodge, a huge mansion surrounded by trees and mystery. He used to be a loved prince and an important royal family member, but now his days are spent alone and quiet. He was once second in line to become king, and people saw him as the brave one, the Queen's favourite son. But those good days disappeared quickly. Reports say Andrew now spends most of his time in his private home, staying away from public events or royal ceremonies. One source said that he often watches TV in dark rooms and only leaves home to ride horses from the royal stables near Windsor Castle. His life, which used to be full of cameras and cheers, now moves slowly and almost invisibly. Royal Lodge itself has its own story to tell. The property sits deep inside Windsor Great Park, protected and hidden from people's eyes. It's big and historic, but also strangely lonely, just like the man who lives there. Even though his royal titles were taken away and he lost his public job, Andrew still lives a life filled with nice things. He drives expensive cars, including a Range Rover with special lights that were once used for official work. He also still has private security guards, though his money from the royal family has supposedly been stopped. In April 2025, photographers got a rare look at him driving out of Royal Lodge with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson after the sad death of Virginia Giuffre, the woman whose claims of abuse led to his downfall. The couple got divorced years ago, but are still close friends, sharing their two daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. People who know him say Andrew refuses to leave Royal Lodge, even though King Charles wants him to move to smaller Frogmore Cottage and has cut his money. Andrew believes he can still pay for the mansion's expensive care, but people on the inside don't think it will last. For the first time, the Queen's once favourite son has to live with limits, and his future is unclear. Behind the big gates of Windsor, his life now feels like a long wait. The world outside has moved forward, but Andrew stays in his private corner, surrounded by fading fancy things and dark shadows. Recently, the world has started paying attention to Prince Andrew's mysterious garage at Royal Lodge. Rumours have started flying that he might be hiding something important inside, secrets from his past that he wants to keep buried. Many people believe this could be the real reason he won't leave the Windsor estate. Even as pressure builds and the royal family stays away, the quiet mansion, once a comfortable place, has now become a fortress full of mystery. But before we show you what was found inside his garage, let's take a closer look at the prince's long, painful fall from being important. A journey from having everything and being proud to being alone and ashamed. Prince Andrew's career once looked like a perfect example of royal duty and bravery. As the second son of Queen Elizabeth II, he joined the Royal Navy in 1979. Following in the footsteps of many royals who had served their country, the young prince trained as a helicopter pilot and quickly became known for being brave. During the Falklands War in 1982, he flew many missions on the front lines, including dangerous decoy flights meant to draw enemy fire away from British ships. People who served with him said he was confident, skilled, and determined to prove he was more than just a royal name. His actions in the South Atlantic made many people in the military respect him. After the war, Andrew kept building his naval career. He moved up through the ranks and eventually became a commander. His naval service lasted for 22 years before he retired in 2001. Even after leaving active duty, his connection to the armed forces stayed strong. He was often seen at military events, helping veterans' charities, and holding honorary military titles across several branches of the armed forces. Once his naval career ended, Andrew moved toward royal and diplomatic work. He took on the job of the United Kingdom's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment in 2001. In this job, he was supposed to promote British businesses in other countries and build international relationships. He travelled a lot, representing the UK at world summits, business conferences, and trade fairs. Many people saw him as valuable for British diplomacy, using his royal status to open doors that were hard to reach otherwise. For years, his schedule was full of official meetings, gatherings with world leaders, and events across the Commonwealth. It was during this time that Prince Andrew's personal friends started getting attention. One of his friends was American money manager Jeffrey Epstein. The two were first reported to have met in the late 1990s. introduced through friends connected to high society in New York. Over the years, Andrew was seen at Epstein's fancy parties, going to dinners and social events with well-known people from politics and business. Photos showed them together several times, both in the United States and in the United Kingdom. According to some reports, they stayed friends for many years, and Epstein was even invited to royal functions at one point. Their friendship, once thought to be just social, would later become the center of huge worldwide attention. The problems from those connections came fast and were devastating. By early 2020, as public criticism got worse, the royal family made an unusual decision. Prince Andrew had his military connections and royal sponsorships taken away. Charities stopped working with him, and official meetings disappeared from his schedule. His once respected titles, including honorary positions in the Royal Navy and other services, were removed. He was now a prince without a job, living in the shadow of his past. The royal who once represented Britain's pride on international stages had become a symbol of shame and regret. You'd be surprised by how huge his downfall was and how he ended up caught in a storm of trouble. There are moments in life when staying quiet speaks louder than words. For Prince Andrew, that silence has gotten heavier with each passing year. The long shadow of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein keeps following him everywhere. Even though Andrew publicly said that he deeply regretted his poor judgment in keeping that friendship, the damage was already done. The world saw the photos, read the reports, and started questioning what really happened behind the fancy appearance of royal life. Each new piece of information made his reputation darker, leaving people wondering if the prince, who once represented British honor, had become a symbol of its embarrassment. But Epstein wasn't the only problem bothering him. Reports came out about documents connected to Andrew's years as the UK's trade ambassador mysteriously going missing. Rumours said that these papers might have had sensitive information about his business dealings and contacts. Though nothing was ever proven, the story added another layer to the growing mystery around him. What also came out were stories from people who had worked closest to him. In Tom Quinn's revealing book, Gilded Youth, palace workers described the Duke as rude, arrogant, and dismissive. They painted a picture of a man who treated the people around him with very little kindness or respect. According to one former staff member, Andrew would yell orders as if still living in a time when royalty ruled by command. Another remembered him throwing objects onto the floor and demanding they be picked up right away. He treated us like servants from another century, one insider told Quinn. Former Royal Protection Officer Paul Page also spoke out, describing Andrew as bossy and verbally mean during his time at the palace. Even his former bodyguard, Ken Worf, shared that his manners were terrible. The stories became part of a bigger picture of a man whose temper and entitlement pushed away the people around him. One story even claimed that Andrew once fired a staff member simply because he didn't like how the man looked, while another was supposedly fired for wearing the wrong kind of tie. By 2019, Andrew's public image had crashed. He announced that he would step back from his royal duties for the foreseeable future, admitting that his Ryanship with Epstein had become a distraction for the monarchy. Eventually, the prince who once moved in glittering circles lives behind the gates of Royal Lodge, where whispers of arrogance, scandal, and being alone have replaced royal celebrations. His big garage, once a place for polished Bentleys and sleek Range Rovers, now stands as a quiet witness to his downfall. Some say it holds more than just cars, that it holds secrets he has kept hidden from the world. Let's now step inside that garage and discover what's there. The place that everyone is suddenly talking about. When the heavy doors of Prince Andrew's garage were finally opened, what was inside was more than just a bunch of cars. It felt like stepping into a forgotten chapter of royal life. Dust floated in the air, and the silence was thick, broken only by the soft creak of hinges. There, hidden under covers and time, sat vehicles that once meant prestige, status, and speed. Now they seemed like leftovers of a man whose life had changed from royal glamour to quiet isolation. The first thing that caught everyone's eye was an Aston Martin Virage Volante, a classic from 1997. Once shining with royal elegance, it now stood like a memory of better days. Reports suggest this car was special to Andrew's heart, maybe because his brother owned a similar model. It symbolized competition, pride, and the luxury of being a prince. But now it stood still, covered in a thin layer of dust, showing how the prince himself had stepped out of the public eye. In one corner, a Bentley Flying Spur rested beneath a cover. Bought in 2015 for around $180,000, it was sold a few years later when the money and personal troubles started closing in around him. There was also the famous Range Rover, the one fitted with blue emergency lights that once made people angry. Even after stepping back from royal duties, Andrew supposedly kept driving this $100,000 vehicle around Windsor for horse riding trips. Critics saw it as another example of him ignoring limits, a stubborn holding on to the privileges that his title once gave him. According to reports from The Sun, Andrew's car collection still includes several Land Rovers and another $80,000 Range Rover Sport PHEV. Each car tells a different story, one of power, another of denial, and many of nostalgia. But the most striking part isn't what the cars are worth. It's what their silence says. Their engines haven't roared in years. Their tyres, once rolling through royal estates, now sit flat and lifeless. Some say that hidden deeper inside the garage are a few vintage pieces, maybe custom-made vehicles from the 1980s and 1990s, reminders of a time when Andrew was known for his charm and adventure. Back then, he was a naval officer, a helicopter pilot, and a royal bachelor who drew crowds wherever he went. The garage with its faded grandeur now reflects the decline of that image. Each car represents something lost. The Aston Martin speaks of youth and pride. The Bentley whispers of power once held. The Range Rover, still sometimes driven, shows the struggle to hold on to importance. Together, they create a picture not of wealth, but of stillness. A life parked between past fame and present disgrace. Walking through that garage is like walking through Andrew's journey itself. Once admired, now watched with suspicion. Once in motion, now standing still. The collection, impressive yet quiet, tells a story of a prince who once sped through life, but now finds himself surrounded by symbols of what he can no longer escape, his own history. So, what does this hidden garage really show? Maybe it's not just about the cars. Maybe it's about a man who has lost his way, whose power and pride now sit like those engines, waiting for a spark that may never come. Currently, Prince Andrew is living in the royal lodge that stands deep within Windsor Great Park. It is a grand, ivy-covered mansion that stretches over acres of royal land. From the outside, it still looks majestic with sweeping lawns and high walls guarding it from curious eyes. Taking care of such a huge property is no small thing. The cost of heating, lighting, and hiring staff for a place of that size runs into hundreds of thousands of pounds each year. Even though the property technically belongs to the Crown Estate, Prince Andrew has lived there since 2003 under a long lease. Reports suggest he paid around $1 million for a 75-year lease, which might seem fair, but the real problem is the constant upkeep. Security officers, gardeners, maintenance crews and cleaners all add to the monthly bills. Even after stepping away from royal duties, Andrew continues to live a lifestyle that still echoes the privilege of his past. Money-wise, questions have been asked again and again. How does Prince Andrew keep up such a lifestyle after losing his official income? Since stepping back from royal duties in 2019, his public funding was cut off. Yet he still enjoys the protection and comfort of royal privileges. There have been whispers about him receiving quiet support from family sources, possibly from the late Queen, and later from King Charles in limited ways. But the full truth stays unclear. The future of Prince Andrew remains uncertain, wrapped in guessing, quiet talks, and fading hope. Though he no longer does royal duties, his story hasn't faded from public curiosity. The settlement with Virginia Giuffre may have closed the legal chapter, but the damage to his reputation runs deep. Since stepping back from royal life in 2019, Andrew has watched his world get smaller. In 2022, Queen Elizabeth stripped him of his royal and military titles, marking an end to his formal public life. Under King Charles, things have become even more difficult. Reports suggest that Andrew has been financially cut off and could soon lose his Windsor home, the Grand Royal Lodge that has long served as his private fortress. Yet, even in this quieter time, Andrew seems unwilling to completely let go of the privileges that come with royalty. Despite his fall from grace, he still holds onto his HRH title, which he can use privately. He has been seen hanging out with wealthy friends like billionaire Johann Rupert, spotted at Harry's bar not long ago, enjoying the company of the elite, while controversy continues to swirl around him. For someone once at the heart of royal life, this half-hidden existence seems both stubborn and sad. A man still reaching for pieces of a past that the world has already left behind. Royal experts paint a clear picture of his current lifestyle. Nigel Cawthorne, author of Prince Andrew, Maxwell, Epstein, and the palace told The Sun that while Andrew is no longer a working royal, he still privately enjoys many of the same luxuries. He spends his days within the huge comfort of Royal Lodge, surrounded by horses, a private golf course, and the remains of royal privilege. His ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, still living with him despite their long-ago divorce, adds another layer of strange normalcy to his withdrawn life. "He must bounce around in there with Fergie," Cawthorne remarked, describing the prince's quiet but comfortable existence inside the 30-room mansion. "He must have staff sweeping up after him there and arranging his teddy bears for him." That single image says a lot. Once a man of importance, commanding ships and shaking hands at international events, Andrew now lives a life that feels oddly frozen in time.